Welcome to the Impact 100 Garden State Application webinar. We thank you for your interest and intend to offer you information essential for preparing your grant application for our 2024 grant cycle. I am Victoria Herzberg, co-chair of the Nonprofit Outreach Committee, and later Louise Murray, who serves as chair of the Nonprofit Outreach Committee, will present. After introducing you to Impact 100 Garden State, we will explain our grant process, talk about characteristics of successful proposals, then to close, provide some practical information about applying. Impact 100 Garden State is an all-women's volunteer-run organization that awards $100,000 grants to nonprofits who seek funding to address unmet needs in the community. We are able to award these high Impact 100 Garden State grants because each Impact 100 member contributes at least $1,000 each year. Within Impact 100, a group of trained volunteers review about 60 applications and select finalists. The full membership then votes to select the nonprofits who will receive $100,000 grants. Since 2017, we have awarded 3 $100,000 grants yearly. So we are reasonably confident that we will continue this trend. Please visit the About Us section of our website to get to know us better. Like our membership, our reviewers have a wide range of backgrounds, areas of expertise, and perspective. Each year, both new and veteran grant reviewers participate in training. The training includes developing awareness of personal bias and strategies for developing consensus. Each reviewer pledges to keep information about the applications confidential and only discussed within their review team. Each reviewer identifies any nonprofit organization where she or a close family member works or serves as a board member in order to ensure she does not have a conflict of interest. The first step of our online application asks you to verify that you meet the eligibility criteria. If your responses to the series of questions align with the eligibility criteria, you can proceed to the application. If any of your responses do not align, you will not be able to access the application. We require eligible organizations to be a 501c3 in good standing. We also ask each applicant to verify their understanding that if awarded a $100,000 grant, the grant organization will receive funding according to a mutually agreed timetable that begins no earlier than July 2024. Typically, the funds are dispersed on a quarterly basis, and Impact 100 Garden State requests quarterly reports from the grantee detailing expenditures and activities undertaken to implement the grant. Now I'd like to add clarification about the financial documentation. This slide shows the required documentation section of the grant application. Applicants will be asked to provide their financial audits or reviews, their financial statements since the last audit, and a detailed budget of the proposal you want Impact 100 Garden State to fund. Since we realize that applicants use different fiscal years, the application and our website include a chart indicating the time period for reporting financial audit or reviews based on the timing of your organization's fiscal year. This means your interim financial report should be 3 to 15 months. If you do not have 2 years of financial records, you are not eligible to apply. In terms of what kinds of proposals we fund, we are looking for proposals that address unmet needs in the arts, social services, education, environment, or healthcare. Our website includes a description of each of these 5 areas. Impact 100 Garden State funds proposals that serve residents of 5 northern New Jersey counties: Morris, Passaic, Somerset, Sussex, and Union. I'd like to clarify that if a small percentage of the target population lives outside these counties, just mention this caveat. We understand that in some instances there may be extenuating circumstances, but our commitment is to mainly serve residents in the 5 counties where our members live. Next, our grants are for $100,000 and must be spent within 1 to 3 years. We fund new programs such as the Jewish Family Services Employment Training Program for the disabled, and Birth Haven's new program that provides in-home supportive services and short-term rental assistance to homeless mothers. We also fund programs for future expansions such as Norwest CAPS program for displaced homemakers and the Family and Community Navigator program operated by the 2nd Street Youth Center in Plainfield. We also require that your executive director or CEO by signature certifies approval of submission of the proposal and other requirements stated in the eligibility section of the application. With regard to eligible expenditures, we fund expenses that are necessary to implement the proposed program. This includes compensation for staff and consultants, capital expenditures, equipment, and staff development and training. Other expenses may be eligible if applicants demonstrate the expenses necessary to implement their proposal. Our last comment about eligibility criteria discusses expenses we will not fund. I'd like to clarify the last point on this slide. Impact 100 Garden State has funded faith-based organizations that offer services regardless of the participant's faith and do not require attendance of religious activities. For example, in 2022, we awarded a $100,000 grant to Jewish Family Services to support employment training for individuals with disabilities because this service was available to individuals regardless of religious background. You can find out more about this program on our website under the heading Our Impact and look for the Grantees section. Once you have completed the online eligibility section and the internal logic indicates you have met our eligibility criteria, you will see the screen that is our application form. Now I will turn over this presentation to Louise, who will start by offering guidance on writing a successful application and then provide some practical information about our grant application process.
Thank you, Victoria, for explaining the eligibility criteria. I'm Louise Murray, and I will start by offering guidance for writing a successful application. Then I will conclude this webinar by offering some practical tips. In offering guidance, we encourage you to brainstorm how you would answer the 5 questions above before responding to the actual application questions. First, ask yourselves where and what is the need. Be sure to explain how existing resources within your organization and in the community are not able to meet this need. For example, one grantee explained how the current services to adolescent parents were insufficient to address housing. The organization wanted to add an additional component of rental assistance to address the unmet need for housing. Equally important, be prepared to explain how your organization is positioned to meet this need. For example, a recent grantee explained that women just above the federal poverty line were disqualified from a federally funded program. This grantee wanted to provide for women who fell between the cracks, and the organization demonstrated that they had the expertise to serve this population. Second, describe how you will implement the proposed program by specifying the key activities you will take. With regard to activities you will implement, we are interested in a detailed description. As you think about explaining what your organization will do to meet this need, explain the who, what, where, when, and why of everything you plan to do to address the unmet need. Third, our reviewers are interested in the characteristics and number you plan to serve. We are often asked whether Impact 100 Garden State prefers to fund programs serving a large number or programs that provide intensive services to a small group of individuals. We have funded both. For example, we have funded organizations to purchase a food truck that serves hundreds of families, and we have funded programs that provide intensive services to a few people within a high-risk population. Our priority is to fund programs that have a sound plan for meeting unmet needs. Fourth, our reviewers are looking for straightforward explanations of how you define success for the population served. For example, do you define success as having participants obtain credentials and/or employment? Do you define success as having participants achieve income, food, and/or housing security? Do you define success as having parents report that they have developed new skills to manage their children's behavior? Do you define success as providing a community access to the arts? Equally important, we want to know what proportion of participants you anticipate will achieve the desired outcome. Here, we realize that it may not be feasible to achieve 100% success. We have funded proposals where the applicant projects that not every participant will achieve the desired outcome. If you anticipate that individuals who do not formally receive services may also benefit, be sure to tell us. For example, when parents obtain employment, the whole family usually benefits. If the health of one family member improves, the whole family usually benefits as well. These are examples of ripple effects. We also ask you to describe your plan for collecting information or measuring results in general terms. Tell us if you plan to use surveys, make observations, or conduct interviews. For the application, there is no need to provide the actual forms you plan to use, although we may ask for this detail later if your proposal advances. Finally, we want to know how you will use the data you collect to improve services. With regard to the budget, be sure to account for every expense you want Impact 100 Garden State to pay for, such as personnel costs, training, supplies, and capital improvements. In addition, we have found that many proposals we have funded required additional monies. If your proposal will cost more than $100,000 to implement, we ask that you display the revenue sources and the additional expenditures you will need to make. For each additional revenue source, it is important to indicate whether the funds are committed or requested. To assist applicants, we have developed a budget template within the online proposal. The template is also available on the page where you access the application. It is to your advantage to use our format, since it can be easily analyzed by the reviewers. If you decide to use another format, be sure that you have reported all the required information that is on the budget template. Answering the 5 questions we have just presented prepares you to respond to the following key questions on the application. The first key question asks the name of the program you are proposing and a brief introduction. Your response to this question is your opportunity to make a concise statement about your funding request. Think of your response to this question as a thesis statement. As specified, write a one-sentence response to each of the 4 sub-questions so the grant reviewers will have a clear understanding of the unmet need you want to address, the activities you will take, who will benefit, and how you will know if what you did achieved the expected results. The next key question asks what you are proposing to do and why. This question is the heart of the application and allows you to expand on the previous question. The suggested word count of these 5 sub-questions should guide you on where to place emphasis. With regard to need, we are asking that you explain why existing resources are not sufficient. We also ask you to explain why you think your organization has the capacity to fulfill this need. With regard to the beneficiaries, we expand on the initial question by asking you to explain how long individuals will participate and how long you will implement the program with Impact100 Garden State funding. Your response to the 4th sub-question is very important. Here, we ask that you explain exactly what you plan to do to meet the need. In your response, it is helpful to discuss how each activity is necessary. If you have supporting data about the effectiveness of the activities, you can discuss here. Further down in the application, we ask you to complete a timeline for implementing the program. We realize that there is overlap between this question and the timeline, but in your response to this question, you can explain the rationale. For example, if you plan to offer both individual counseling and peer group support, our grant reviewers would like to have a clear understanding of why you think offering both services will be effective. Finally, we ask you to describe the expected outcomes or results for the beneficiaries. As we just mentioned, we provide a table for you to list your main activities and predicted timing. If awarded the grant, this timing is reviewed and adjusted as necessary. Since your response about measuring expected outcomes has to be short, focus on how you define success and present a general plan. For example, conducting a survey, conducting interviews, or making observations. Be sure to include the time frame for collecting the data. Similarly, your explanation of how you can use the data should be concise, and we have suggested some examples of the kind of information we are looking for on this slide. Depending on your implementation plan, you may need to consider another factor. Several programs we have funded required support from other organizations. For example, some program proposals explained that they would rely on referrals, ancillary services, and/or space from another organization. Impact 100 Garden State welcomes these kinds of collaborations, partnerships. If you anticipate relying on other organizations, we will ask for documentation of the relationships if your proposal advances. If your proposal plans to engage another nonprofit to implement the program and you want to compensate this organization, we have space on the application for you to tell us about this arrangement. If you would like to split the $100,000 with another nonprofit, we ask you to identify this nonprofit and provide the same financial information we discussed earlier. See the FAQ section titled Application Details for the kind of information we require for each of these models of collaboration. Impact 100 Garden State asks questions about your plans for collaboration to make sure that you can begin working with partner organizations promptly. If your proposal advances in our review process, we will ask you for written confirmation about the way you plan to work with other organizations. We will wrap up our discussion of the application by telling you how we have built in some practical tips right on the application. We'll also mention some important dates and provide Impact 100 State contact information. Since this is a new application platform, all applicants must create a new username and password. For those who are reapplying, your last year or earlier login information does not carry over to this platform. You can download a copy of the proposal to prepare drafts. To find it, click on Begin the Process box on our website to take you to the Register Login page. The Help button directs you to the FAQs and our email, where you can contact us with any questions. There is a Save Progress button on every page. Be sure to use it. When you submit an application, the individual who registered his or her email address will receive a copy of your completed submission, confirming receipt. This receipt will include a URL to access a survey where you can provide anonymous feedback about our application process. Within Impact 100 Garden State, we are committed to continuous improvement, and we have incorporated previous applicants' feedback in this year's application. January 17, 2024 at noon is a firm deadline so that we can conclude our work by mid-April and prepare for a membership vote. By March 20th, all applicants will know the status of their application. By March 20th, you will know if you are one of the nonprofits we would like to visit to learn more about your proposal. The meeting is known as a site visit. We understand that there is more to learn about your proposal, and this is an opportunity to elaborate. We will let you know of the questions we have in advance and give you time to prepare answers and respond to any questions you have of us. By April 19th, we will notify all those whom we visited whether they are advancing to finalists. From April 19th onward, Impact 100 Garden State will work with the finalists to announce their selection and to prepare a presentation for an online membership vote for the $100,000 grantees. Our membership vote occurs soon before our June 5th annual meeting at the Birchwood Manor, where we will announce the $100,000 grantees for 2024. Thank you. All of us at Impact 100 Garden State deeply appreciate your work in the community. We wish you the best and encourage you to apply for an Impact 100 Garden State $100,000 grant. If you have questions or need clarification, please email us at the email address noted on the slide. Also, the slide provides the website link where you can visit our previous grantees. Again, all the best and thank you very much.